Today is one of those days that you just can't think of anything to do, so I'm going to whip up a batch of original brownies. Hold on and I'll show you how I do it. There's nothing like a ooey gooey chocolate brownie. And to do this, we're going to do it a little different than what you normally do. I'm using cake flour today instead of just plain flour. That gives it a little lighter consistency and it's not quite so heavy. I have 1 1/4 cups of cake flour here. I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of baking powder, plus 1 more half, for a total of 3/4 teaspoon. And we're going to add 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Salt kind of helps bring out the sweetness in your dessert sometimes. Kind of whisk that together. And then I'm going to set that aside. In my saucepan, I have 12 tablespoonfuls of butter and 6 ounces of a good baking chocolate. Now you can either use semi-sweet or you can use just the regular chocolate that has no sweetener in it at all. And we're going to melt that. I'm melting it over the top of the oven or the stove here. You can do it in the microwave. I kind of find that it's a little easier. And you have to really watch it if you're not going to put it over boiling water and melt it that way. But this will work just fine. You've just got to be very diligent and watch it, and you can't walk away from it. Okay, yes, we have the heat on low because we want it to melt, but we want this to never come to a boil. You don't want it to get that hot. So we now have it. It's nice and smooth. The butter's melted. The chocolate's all melted. And I'm going to remove that from the heat. Okay. Now that we have that removed from the heat, I'm going to add 2 1/4 cups of sugar. Stir that in good. You want that well blended. This looks almost good enough to eat right there. Okay. Now since our mixture is not that hot, we can begin to add our eggs. And I have 4 whole eggs, large. And I'm just going to kind of stir those in. You want to beat it to where that you don't have any, you can kind of see there's a glistening big gob of egg strand. Be sure you get all of that beat up. Okay, and now I'm going to add This sounds like a lot, but it's just about the right amount. 1 tablespoonful of a good vanilla. And we use pure vanilla. We found that we've got used to the taste being so much better. I just don't use anything else anymore. And you're going to mix that in. Okay. Now we're going to add that to the dry ingredients. Now you could have added 2 tablespoonfuls of coffee crystals to this dry ingredients if you would have liked, but today we're not going to add coffee crystals. It kind of adds just a little different flavor to your brownie. I like the flavor, but it's just we're making just a regular classic kind of brownie here today. And then we're going to start mixing that in. All right, we've got all of that mixed in. It's nice and smooth. We're now going to put that in our prepared pan. And I like this recipe because it will make a 13 by 9 inch brownie. Whenever you use some of the other ones, they make like an 8 by 8. If you like brownies, that doesn't go very far. I've prepared my pan here by putting, I've put aluminum foil in it, made sort of a cross in here, and another one this so that it will come out over that. And the reason for that is so that when the brownies are completely cooked and cooled, you can just lift them out like this, and it's so much easier than trying to dig them out of a pan. I sprayed it with a non-cooked spray. Let's be sure we get all of it in there. And we're going to put that in the oven that we have heated to 325 degrees. Okay, we're going to, actually this has been in the oven for 50 minutes. We tried it at 35 minutes and it was still a little too moist. What you do is you look at the center and at that, and you stick your toothpick in halfway and you bring it out. If it comes out dry and flaky, you've left it in the oven too long. If it comes out where that the liquid is still on it, it needs to remain and go back into the stove, and that's what happened when we checked it the first time. Okay, we're going to let this set and cool for 1.5 hours before we lift it out and cut it. We've finished cutting that up. We're just going to transfer these to a nice place to sit, make them pretty. And as you can see, nice, gooey, crispy on the top, chewy on the inside.